comes when you start grappling with a daunting challenge: how to develop your own style. What is it that you want to say? And how can you most effectively express your ideas, your personality, your passion? As a young player, when asked why you play as you do, you can justify your approach by replying, well, Bird does it this way, or I'm trying to sound like Train. But as we mature, it's paramount we find our own voice. How is that done? I start each practice session by simply playing a note and listening to its sound. Then I play another note, enjoying how it feels and how the sound of the horn fills the room. Maybe an idea will pop into my head, a melody, a phrase, a lick. If nothing cool comes to mind, there's a bunch of transcribed solos by the world's finest players, filled with tons of wonderful licks I can focus my practice time on. For my session today, I grabbed a cool Coltrane lick from Ernie Watts's workshop in Bruce Mishkit's Master Lessons book. As I began shedding that lick in all 12 keys, around the circle of fifths, the figure began to feel a bit stale. This often happens to me, and it's perfectly natural. It's really a good thing, an opportunity. It's when I start asking myself, what do I really want to hear? What would rejuvenate the freshness and vitality of this passage? What is the essence of this musical moment? So I begin to evaluate each note in the passage regarding its relevance to the overall flow. I experiment with rhythm, trying to make it swing more naturally. Rhythm needs to be unpredictable and intriguing without being so outside as to feel contrived. That reminds me, flugelhorn artist Dmitri Matheny once gave a clinic at Peninsula College in which he shared an intriguing insight. He sang that well-known children's playground taught, na 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 na. Then he demonstrated how Louis Armstrong could communicate that same jibe with his horn. 10 years later, Dmitri showed us how Roy Eldridge portrayed that jeer within his own swing context. And then he showed us how Dizzy Gillespie likewise updated the childish sneer using bebop sensibility. But by the time the insult found its way into Miles Davis' terse rhetoric, a mere 2 notes succinctly telegraphed the identical derisive message. Bye-o. That's all Miles had to say to put across the emotion that he was trying to express. Indeed, it hardly needs recounting how starkly Miles' approach contrasted with the dense textures of his bandmate Coltrane, or, for that matter, how Train translated Monk's acerbic vocabulary into a complex verbiage seemingly at odds with Monk's original conception. A legend has it that Hank Mobley would intentionally depart from the approach taken by others on the gig in order to better showcase his own unique gift. Here are some variations I experimented with, starting from that Coltrane lick which Ernie Watts demonstrated. I was struggling to express Train's lick using my own peculiar dialect. As I grapple through a half dozen iterations, notice how some notes become more prominent while others vanish in the smoke. How the rhythm strives to grow more colorful, florid, and swinging, but then finally retreats in stark, attenuated garb. By the way, when shedding these fictitious practice licks in all 12 keys, I generally proceed around the circle of fourths, So if possible, the lick ends on the starting note of the next key. It's also important to emphasize that I never use these licks on actual gigs. They merely serve as a means to improve technique and, as stated above, to help develop personal improvisatory style. I keep a notebook full of licks that either I've come up with on my own or I've taken from some of the transcription books that I study, or listening to records, listening to what the masters have played. My sincere thanks to Bruce and Ernie for stirring up my muddy creative waters. So here we go with the different variations on that Ernie Watts Coltrane lick. Thank you for watching. After studying Ernie Watts's lesson and listening to several John Coltrane recordings, this is the lick that I decided to start practicing in all 12 keys at the beginning of my practice session. While we're addressing several technical issues in our practicing, we do not want to lose sight of a certain creative, joyful winsomeness in our playing, which will be so attractive to our audiences. With that in mind, I like to change up the lick from time to time and challenge my creative powers of composition, which will hopefully make me a better improviser. So here is variation number 2. For variation number 3, I kept the second bar the same because I like that bop, ba da da, that syncopation, but I repeated the triplet pattern in the first bar, ba ba da do do da do 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 da, because that repetition gives it more unity. Check this one out. In variation 4, we once again repeat the triplet, and we have an additional figure that's also repeated, boom ba, boom ba. So be ba ba do boom ba do ba ba boom ba do ba. You notice that the chromatic bass pattern, reminiscent of Funny Valentine or This Masquerade, is reflected to one extent or another in all of these variations. It's only natural for all of us to want to show off our chops at times, but every once in a while we get that urge to be economical and elegant in our phrasing, like Miles Davis or Billie Holiday. You've just seen a bird's eye view of one practice session. As always, I'm working on tone, phrasing, articulation, dynamics, and building chops in all 12 keys, not just the common ones. But the emphasis in this video is you need to practice joy. If you practice joy, you're going to perform joy, and your audience will be filled with joy as they hear you. Rather than slavishly, wearily slogging through a predetermined prescriptive regimen, try reinventing the gig as you dance through it. It's a lot more fun, and I think it's a lot more productive. Here's why. Do you love shopping for clothes? I hate it, and I avoid it whenever possible. However, when you shop for clothes, you're learning what your own preferences are. You're discovering your own personality. You're inventing your unique style. Same goes for practicing your instrument. As you revise and finesse the material at hand, you're getting to know yourself better. You're revealing preferences hidden in your deepest aesthetic sensibility. You're getting to know yourself and becoming more comfortable with who you are, with the improvisational style which is already part of you. Yes, your improv style will develop. Yes, your playing will mature, but you don't need to sweat and strain trying to find something original. Your style is already right there inside your soul, just waiting to be discovered. Ready or not, here we come. Let's go find it.